Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
But who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And what he do?
And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another episode of CLR, Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer, which means I actually go to trial. I don't hold your hand and strike a deal unless it's the right deal. But I do try a lot of cases, and I know my way around the courtroom, and that's what makes analyzing the Johnny Depp case interesting. Now, when I did our first video, I'll have to admit I love Johnny Depp, and I didn't really know who Amber Heard was, didn't know how long they'd been together, didn't know much about the whole saga, didn't know about the UK trial. And so I was kind of on the fence in terms of who's at fault, why bring all this crap out, because it really is just a bunch of mudslinging and bullshit, right? I mean, how could you live with all the fucking drama that he went through with her? I just can't even begin to even imagine, although I've been there. So we're going to analyze a couple different pieces of testimony here today. And one of the things that you have to be careful is when you ask a question, you never ask a question you don't know the fucking answer to. And that happened over and over again with the defense lawyers in this case, Amber's lawyers. So we've got the limo driver, the security guy, the psychologist. There's so many different times where they ask a question and then they step in a pile of their own dog shit because they didn't know what the hell they were asking or even why they were asking. So let's kind of get into this. Let's start with the limo driver and the security guy. First of all, some of the witnesses are people that have provided services to Johnny Depp and his people, and they're first-hand witnesses. They're not like Reputation or whatever. They've seen things, they've heard things, and they can actually speak to what they've seen. The psychologist in the case, she has done what they call an adverse medical exam, and one of the reasons that they were able to do that is because Amber put her own psychological well-being at play. So then what do? They do a forensic psychological exam of her. Johnny's not saying he's saying he's economically damaged by what she said, not psychologically damaged. So they don't have the same tit for tat on that issue. Johnny Depp's security guard has been with him for over 20 years. And when you have somebody that's worked with somebody for that long, that connotes stability and a stable relationship in terms of, and a loyal one at that. But so let's look at his testimony.
Department and then the hospital.
Join you.
I have no further questions.
All right, cross-examination. Mr. Jaylap.
Mr. Connolly, you still work for Mr. Depp?
I do, yeah.
Okay. And you've worked for him now for about 18 years?
No.
Well, 2 years ago, you said you worked for him for 16 years, so 2 more years would be 18.
No, I worked with him. I didn't work for him. I worked for a guy called Jerry Judge in Music and Arts. Johnny Depp never paid me. Johnny Depp started paying me 2 years ago.
Okay, so now you're being, so you were working, Jerry Judge was your boss until he passed away, is that right?
Okay.
Okay. And now you get paid directly by Mr. Depp, correct?
Right.
And you're paid a salary by Mr. Depp?
No.
Okay. And Mr. Depp's also provided you gifts, correct?
Gifts?
Gifts. Money,
Yes.
gifts.
So one of the things he's doing by going through this line of questioning is to try to establish a bias, that he's going to somehow lie for Johnny Depp, and that he can't be believed because he's received gifts. And one of the things when you look at his testimony, this is the security guard, or his detail, is he comes off as being credible, and I just love his response here. Watch this.
No. Yes, Johnny's gave me gifts. I've given Johnny gifts.
And she's given you gifts over $8,500, correct?
Over $8,500. I don't know where he got that figure, and it really doesn't fucking matter.
$8,500.
Yeah.
He gave me a lot more than that.
He's giving me a lot more than that. You gotta love that. It's such a candid response, and look at Johnny Depp's response.
And you're loyal to Mr. Depp, right?
Yes, of course I'm loyal to Mr. Depp. I'd be loyal to you if I was working for you.
Okay. Now, going to Australia, you said you went to Australia in 2015 with Mr. Depp, correct? Or you went before Mr. Depp, but you were there to work for Mr. Depp, correct?
Correct.
And Jerry Judge was also there?
Not when I arrived, no.
But Jerry Judge was eventually in Australia, correct?
Correct.
And Nathan Holmes was also in Australia as well, right?
Correct.
And Mr. Depp came to Australia in February of 2015, correct?
Correct.
And when Mr. Depp first came to Australia, Amber was not with Mr. Depp, right?
I don't recall. I don't recall if Amber arrived with Johnny or Amber arrived later.
You don't know one way or the other?
No.
And Mr. Depp stayed in a house in Australia, correct?
Correct.
And you and the security team were about 40 minutes away from the house Mr. Depp was renting, correct?
25, 30. 30, 40. Yeah, you're correct. If it's a traffic day, yeah, 40 minutes at most.
And alcohol was in the house in Australia, correct?
Correct.
And Mr.
So when you hear his candid responses, he's actually gaining credibility even more so through this cross-examination than less. So, I mean, what he's really doing is not really hurting Johnny's case at all.
Consumed alcohol before Amber arrived in Australia, isn't that right?
Yeah, he would have done, yes.
Okay. And, you know, if Mr. Depp consumed illegal drugs before Amber arrived in Australia?
I don't object to speculation.
I wouldn't know.
I'll overrule all that. Go ahead.
And do you know if Mr. Depp spent any time with Marilyn Manson in Australia before Amber arrived?
Don't recall. I don't recall Marilyn Manson being there.
So you don't. So as Mr. Depp's security, you don't know if Mr. Depp was with Marilyn Manson at any time?
So, I mean, this line of questioning is just, he doesn't know the answer, and he's really wasting everybody's time. And you alienate the jury when you do that.
I left Australia to smuggle 2 dogs back out of Australia back to...
No. I'm talking about I'm talking about in the beginning of March 2015. You were. You don't know one way or the other.
No.
Were you seeing Mr. Depp every day? In early March 2015?
No, not at the beginning. I had other duties.
Okay. So you don't know what Mr. Depp was doing at that time, correct?
No, I wasn't with him.
Okay. And you don't know when Amber arrived in Australia, correct?
No.
Okay. But you do know that Amber stayed with Mr. Depp, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you talked about a resident security team that was at the Australia house, is that right?
That's correct.
Very rarely are there Perry Mason moments or aha moments, and you really need to know the answer to the question. I mean, through this line of questioning, you're talking about this house in Australia, and he was in, and you've seen this. He's leading him all the way up to this one particular moment, and then he asks him the ultimate question.
A shouting.
And then you went in the house and saw Mr. Depp in the foyer, correct?
Yes, correct.
And Mr. Depp was trying to urinate in the foyer, wasn't he?
Now, do you know what he's going to answer? He doesn't know what he's going to answer.
No.
Mr.
No.
had his penis out of his pants, didn't he?
I think I would remember
Relevance.
Mr. Depp's penis.
I'll allow.
I think I would have remembered if I had seen Mr. Depp's penis out. I mean, the lawyer looks like a fucking fool at this point. He just absolutely looks like a fool.
Next question.
And all the laughing in the courtroom is laughing at that lawyer.
We're trying to get Mr. Depp out of the house, correct?
Correct, I was trying to get Mr. Depp out of the house, yes.
And Mr. Depp was refusing to leave the house, was he not?
Not so much refused, he just wanted 2 minutes to say his piece.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jenkins.
Good afternoon. So just to be clear on the chronology, you met Mr. Depp in 1993, is that right?
Correct.
And you've worked for him ever since?
Off and on, yes.
Okay. And your salary's paid by Mr. Depp, correct?
Salary, no.
You receive pay for the work that you do for Mr.
Yes.
Depp, correct?
Of course, yes, of course.
And what Mr. Depp's security is your highest priority in your job, correct?
Yes, it is.
You're loyal to Mr.
His
Depp.
and his family. And his family.
You're loyal to Mr. Depp.
So this is the security guard, and the security guard is somebody that, through this questioning, again, they're trying to establish, that he's biased and that his testimony is going to be biased, just because he's been working for Mr. Depp for so long, and it's quite ineffective, if you ask me.
Now, I want to turn to the night of April 21st, 2016. You just to recap, you said you were working a security shift at Amber's birthday at the Eastern Columbia building that evening, correct?
Correct.
And you said that your shift ended around 11:15, correct?
Correct.
And you said the boss still hadn't shown up by the time that you left the Eastern Columbia building, right?
Correct.
So you have no idea where Mr. Depp was or what he was doing from 9:30 p.m. that evening until at least 11:15 when you left the Eastern Columbia building, right?
No, I didn't know what he was doing. He was.
See, here's two things. One, he says you have no idea where he was or what he was doing. He doesn't know what the answer is going to be. There's two problems with that. Number one, it could include hearsay, in which case he's just invited the hearsay answer. And what's more is he's just given the witness a chance to expand.
When you left the Eastern Columbia building, right?
No, I didn't know what he was doing. He was attending to his mother.
You weren't with him.
I had information.
Okay. All right. That's information that you received, but you have no personal knowledge of that.
I have no reason to doubt it. It came from Sean.
Okay. Okay. So Mr. Bett told you that?
The boss is out there.
Right. Mr. Bett told you that he was tending to his mother that night?
He didn't say mother. He said the boss was out there. I'm aware of what the situation was, the time frame. He's with his mother.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Okay. And did you have any understanding that he had a meeting with his new business manager earlier that evening where he was told that he was running out of money and that his taxes hadn't been paid in years? Did you have any understanding of that?
Objection, foundation.
Objection, foundation, calls for speculation.
No, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
And you did.
So one of the things that her lawyers are doing is they're trying. They have this invective, this kind of snarky kind of gotcha invective, and whenever they ask some dumb questions like that one that was just asked, and the objection gets sustained, they think it kind of somehow poisons the jury because the jury's already heard it. That is just bullshit, because the jury's going to is told that that's not evidence.
See Mr. Depp that night, right?
No, I did not.
So you came back the next morning to escort Amber to Coachella, right?
Yes.
And you say that Amber told you that she had thrown Mr. Depp's phone off the roof?
Correct.
And did you come to understand that Mr. Depp had thrown her phone off the roof that evening prior to when Amber threw Mr. Depp's phone off the roof?
She informed me of that.
Okay, she informed you of that. So when you went outside to look for Mr. Depp's phone, you weren't looking for Miss Heard's phone, were you?
She had her phone. She had her phone. She was trying to re-download and back it up.
Okay, so you were only looking for Mr. Depp's phone when you went downstairs to try to. You found it with an unhoused person. You said, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and did I hear you right that you said it was 6 miles away where you found the phone?
Correct.
It actually wasn't 6 miles away. It was actually right below the building, the ECB building,
no, it was
correct?
Not.
Okay.
No, it was not.
Can you pull up, does he have a way to see documents that just him, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay.
So he's going to try to impeach this witness. Impeach means to show that the person is not telling the truth. And you watch all this driver's testimony, and he's extremely credible. And the problem is when you do this, if it's not done correctly, you're the lawyer, and you're the one who gets impeached.
Could you please pull up the witness statement, Mr. Jenkins? Mr. Jenkins, do you remember giving testimony on Mr. Depp's behalf in the UK trial?
Yes, I did.
And you gave a witness statement first in writing, correct? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And then you were examined by the attorneys in the trial, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can you see on your screen the statement do you see a witness statement?
Yes, I see it.
It says witness statement of Starling Jenkins, right?
Correct.
And this is the statement that you wrote and signed as part of the UK trial on behalf of Mr. Depp, correct?
Correct.
Okay. If you can scroll, please, to page 3 of the document. And, Mr. Jenkins, I'm going to read you what you wrote in paragraph 13.
Okay.
And we can go from there. On paragraph 13, you wrote in your witness statement in the UK trial, the Find My iPhone application indicated that Johnny's phone was somewhere on the streets below the balcony of the residence. Did I read that right?
If that's what it says, that's what it says. I'm telling you, the phone was in Skid Row.
Okay,
I have
so
a photo of the gentleman that found it. I have the location where the phone was found.
isn't Skid Row just a few blocks away from the Eastern Columbia building?
No, it's on 6th and Main, I guess, depending on what area you are.
Okay, so one of these two sworn statements, either what you just said in court just now that it was found 6 miles away, or this, one of these is false, correct?
It's just inadequate as far as the location. The location is not below the penthouse. It's not on Broadway. It was
Okay.
found on Broadway by the unhoused man, and then he lives off of Skid Row.
Okay. Now let's move on to Coachella, please.
Yes, sir.
And there were thousands of other people at that music festival too, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Were you pregnant and sober that weekend?
Wasn't my information, wasn't my knowledge.
Were you aware that Amber's sister Whitney threw up in a parking lot that weekend?
No.
Okay. To your knowledge and understanding, Mr. Jenkins, there's nothing wrong with wanting to spend time with your friends at a music festival after being abused by your husband, right?
So that is a very loaded question. There's nothing wrong with wanting to spend time with your friends at a music festival after being abused by your husband, is there? So that's assuming, that's like the old question, when did you stop beating your wife? It's a very improper question. And the implication is that it happened. So, but I love how this security guard or this driver handles this.
What abuse?
That's not abnormal
What abuse? That is absolutely perfect.
thing to want to be around your friends, correct?
She was partying up with her friends. She was
Okay.
partying.
And he puts it in a completely different mood. She's partying up with her friends, not all depressed because she's been beaten by her husband. So let's go to the psychologist now. The psychologist did an adverse medical exam or adverse psychological exam. And they're allowed to do that because Amber has put her own psychological well-being as part of her damage equation.
Dr. Curry, you're
I have to restart this because it's that way.
not board certified, correct?
No, I'm not.
Not in clinical psychology or in forensic psychology, correct?
No, I'm a licensed clinical psychologist.
But you're not board certified. No. Okay. And you also have only been practicing approximately 8 years, is that correct?
That's not correct.
How many years?
You would think that the lawyer would know exactly how. I mean, her curriculum vitae is right in front of him.
Been licensed for 10 years,
Okay.
and I've been practicing for about 15 years.
Okay. Now, you went to Mr. Depp's home for dinner and drinks before you were hired as an expert in this case, correct?
So one of the things that she tries to do here very ineffectively is to try to destroy the credibility of the expert. In other words, well, you had drinks with Mr. Depp and you wouldn't be doing this, and you were so excited and you're just all enamored and you're doing everything you can to please this celebrity. Ugh.
That's not quite right. I was interviewed at Mr. Depp's home by his legal team. Dinner was served.
You, in attendance with Mr. Depp was Adam Waldman, correct?
Yes.
Ben Chu, correct?
Yes.
Camille Vasquez?
Yes.
Okay. And the dinner lasted approximately 3 to 4 hours, correct?
Yes.
And it included
The interview.
drinks, correct?
Yes. Dinner and I believe drinks were served.
Okay. And this was before you were hired as an expert, correct?
Yes, this was an interview so that they could make an informed decision as to whether or not to retain me.
And don't you think that's a little odd that you're getting interviewed by Mr. Depp to decide whether you're going to testify adversely against Amber Heard?
I was interviewed by the legal team.
And Mr. Depp was present. It was his home, correct?
Yes.
And he was serving dinner and drinks.
He was
correct?
not serving dinner and drinks.
Well, it was at his house, at his behest, correct?
Yes, it was at his house.
Okay. And you were contacted by Camille Vasquez, somebody you knew in the community, in February of 2020. Is that correct?
I knew of Ms. Vasquez professionally. We live in the same city, and I work with many attorneys.
Okay. And at that time, you not only knew Johnny Depp, you'd seen a number of his TV and movie roles, and you believed he was a good actor, correct?
Not correct. I did not know Johnny Depp. I
Well,
had
you knew
seen
of
several of
him.
his movies.
You knew who he was.
Yes.
Right. And you believed he was a good actor.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. And then you provided an expert designation in this case before ever seeing Amber or having an opportunity to review any documents or records.
Not true.
Isn't that correct?
I did not provide an expert designation. That's an attorney thing. My opinions are contained in my report.
It says you have 3 opinions. The first of those is that Amber Heard, quote, exhibits patterns of behavior that are consistent with co-occurring cluster B personality disorder traits, especially borderline personality disorder. Did I get that right?
I'm reading that here. That is not my opinion.
Okay.
Well,
but
it's a current
trend.
opinion, but this was not an opinion of mine then. I didn't have any opinions at that time.
It says Dr. Curry will testify, correct?
That's what it says, yes.
Okay. And this is a signed pleading, correct? On behalf of Mr. Depp.
I'm not sure I understand what that means.
You don't understand what a signed pleading is?
No.
Okay. Do you understand that Mr. Depp's counsel prepared this and served it on Ms. Heard's counsel?
I'm not an attorney. I don't understand necessarily all of these procedures.
Okay. Are you aware that Mr. Depp is on an audio recording years earlier taunting Amber Heard that she has a borderline personality disorder?
I was made aware of that in this case, yes.
So you heard, is that
actually
one of the audio
not
tapes you
necessarily
listened to?
taunting, but I do recall hearing that Mr. Depp had used that phrase.
So it's a coincidence that you now think she has those attributes after the attorneys listed it in February 2021 before you'd looked at anything, and Mr. Depp had made that accusation to Ms. Heard years earlier.
My opinions aren't based on coincidence.
It's objection. I'm
Okay.
sorry, Dr. Yes. Compound, I'll sustain the objection.
All right. It's a coincidence then that you came up with symptoms of borderline personality disorder years later after Mr. Depp has been taunting Ms. Heard in an audio tape.
I can't speak to whether or not there's a coincidence. What I can tell you is my opinions are based on the results of my evaluation.
And it's a coincidence that Mr. Depp's counsel attributed that to you, said that to you in February 2021 before you'd looked at anything, correct?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Now, would you agree that a disproportionate number of women are tagged with a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder?
So the question was, would you agree that a disproportionate amount of women are tagged with the diagnosis of borderline personality disorder? Now, you should know the answer to the question before you ask it, because otherwise, if you don't know what they're going to say, or you kind of control it. So let's see what she says.
No, that's not quite right.
No, that's not quite right. See, and they constantly are stepping in their own dog shit.
75%?
The way you phrased it is not quite right.
Tell me what's right.
Okay, so there are more women who have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder than men. It's more prevalent in women.
So when she says, tell me what's right, all of a sudden, the lawyer is supposed to be in charge. The lawyer is supposed to be able to control the witness, control the questioning on cross-examination. And what she just did is she flipped the witness, and the witness is now in control, and she just gave the witness more credibility.
Now, you've never been asked to testify or serve as an expert with respect to whether someone has a bipolar disorder. Is that correct?
A bipolar disorder?
Yes.
That's not correct.
Okay.
That's not correct. In other words, don't you know the answer to these questions?
Could you?
No.
Okay, thank you.
So it really comes down to the fact that, with the psychologist, she comes off very credible, and she really substantiates a lot of what Mr. Depp's or Johnny Depp's testimony in terms of it explains Amber's behavior through both the recordings that were happening and through a number of the other parts of the story that were given in terms of their interactions. So, and the other thing is, Amber's going to probably testify next week or this coming week, and her testimony is going to be really attacked by a lot of the physical evidence, by the recordings. I don't really understand how all these recordings exist, but thank God they do, because they really demonstrate her irrationality and Johnny Depp's that he really was a victim of domestic violence. During her opening statement, the defense lawyer for Amber Heard holds up a makeup kit, a little compact, and says this is what she used to cover up the abuse, blah blah blah, which is just bullshit. Well, the manufacturer put out a tweet saying that this is not possible because the item that she was holding up before the jury was something that was manufactured in 2017, well after they had split up. So I think what you're going to see when Amber testifies, there's going to be a series of those kinds of things. Amber there was some testimony earlier in the week about from the ACLU, and that there was this $3.5 million pledge. And one of the things in one of Amber's interviews that she did, she says, I've given all of the $7 million that she got from the divorce, married fucking 15 months, by the way, and she got $7 million and $13 million in debts that were forgiven, or actually that Johnny Depp paid. But she said she gave it all away to charity, to the ACLU and to the Children's Hospital, and it just isn't true. And that is going to be shoved up her ass so bad on cross-examination that it's really going to be an interesting cross. I think there's a real disparity between the talent of lawyers. Johnny Depp's lawyers are pretty no-nonsense. They don't go for the invective. They just go for the facts. And Amber's lawyers are all about the slight little digs, trying to get the gotcha moments. So we'll watch some more of this, and we'll put put your comments up and let me know what you think. I know after my first video, I got a lot of comments about how Johnny Depp was the wrong. And I'm starting to come around. In fact, I'm pretty much there. But in watching the plaintiff's case, Johnny Depp's case, I think they made a compelling case, and that she lied, and that she lied about him abusing her, and that's what this is all about. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Remember to sign up for Patreon. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. And we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.